Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to watching this interview. I'm here with my buddy Lawrence Lockett, and he lives in Baltimore, works at Morgan State University, but we know Lawrence from his time in Philadelphia. I'm super excited to have you guys hear from him. He is creative. He has an album out where he's looked at life as a college student from a Christian perspective, and he's also just lived a life of seeing. He's just got a deep guy with a lot of thoughts, and I want you guys to hear from him. So, Lauren, what's up, man? Tell him a
What's
little bit
going
about
on?
yourself.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And again, my name is Lawrence. I do work at Morgan State University. I went to Drexel back. I graduated in Drexel in '07, and that was a pretty great experience. And I married my wife, who also went to Drexel. Her name is Zipporah. We've been married for about, we'll be going on 9 years this year. And just loving life, loving community, loving just to love people. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm also a '07 grad
Mm-hmm.
myself, and I look at our faces, and you look much better as
I'll stop.
as a 35-year-old than I do now at this point. So, Lawrence, man, hey, can you tell everyone a little bit about just what it looked like to make an album, what and about the album itself?
Sure. So my album was called The Exchange Student. And with the exchange student, basically like a concept of being a nomad, so usually if you're, an international or exchange student, you're coming from a place to a new place, new area. You have to learn culture, learn your surroundings, and just try to push through despite any type of setbacks and continue just to persist and graduate overall, right? So with my album, it's kind of like a sequence of like the first track is like accepted, second track is freshman 15, because usually freshman year you gain on, you gain some pounds. Third track is like language barrier. So it's like, it's literally telling a story. So I feel like college students do deal with a lot when they're coming into school. And from my perspective, we can redemptively tell a story, and that is through Christ, that he's able to do incredible things. And although we may go through pain, go through upsets, the Lord is still there to deliver and set us free throughout the circumstances.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I even love the image of the exchange student, just as a believer, that the outsider that now lives within a community that you're slightly different from now.
Yes. It's like you're in the world, but not of it. You're coming from a place. You're
Yeah.
here on mission to learn a culture, to gain your education, whatever it may be, and then you're gonna go back. So what the concept of the album is, I'm here, I'm on mission here on earth to do the work of Christ. I need to make sure I make good connections, love on people well, still love
Mm-hmm.
God well. And my faith may be tested and may be shaken up a little bit, but I know that my faith, I'm still set on a solid foundation, and I can never be shaken, can never be plucked out the Lord's hand. I know he's got me, but while I'm still here, I need to make sure that I still proclaim the gospel, proclaim his name, and just tangibly, just kind of be the hands and the feet of Jesus at the church.
That's awesome. Now tell me, so I'm not musically talented,
Yeah.
and obviously I'm sure writing all of this stuff, you're processing through all of the meanings and the concepts, and
Mm-hmm.
even just the ongoing process of what that takes. Tell me about what you learned from Jesus throughout that
Yeah.
process.
Well, it's weird for me artistically. I work backwards, so a lot of people look at me funny. But so for the album, I I already had the track titles first, so I didn't start writing songs. I already had the track titles. I had like the scriptures that accompanied the song, and then I started. Then I got started making the music, and then I started writing from there. So usually
Okay.
people kind of start writing, then they listen to a track that can kind of fit the music. Um, but well, start writing to the track after um, what am I trying to say? They start writing first, and then they add um, music to whatever they wrote. So I kind of just did it another way.
All
But
right.
for
So
me, yeah,
you had the titles before you had the
at
words.
the titles before the words. Yes, yes.
There you go. So so the thing is, I guess you had the story in mind.
Yep. So I was really inspired by Kanye. I love, old school Kanye. He came out with 3 albums, College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. And then like I just love those are like probably my top 3 albums within my top 10 of all time. His 3 albums are like crazy. I love the way his music is and the way he samples and stuff like that, rhyme schemes. And I try to emulate that. So the theme of like the whole college piece is really comes from Kanye. But like since I love college students so much, I wanted to try to make something that can relate to them that I can kind of pass on, in passing. So yeah.
Yeah. So also in that process, then what did you learn from Jesus throughout doing that the backwards way?
Yeah, I think for me, like, so I had a crazy writer's block. I couldn't even write anything for 5 years, literally. So it's like, I think also I was transitioning into marriage and just trying to navigate that whole space. And then even dealing with like clothing brand stuff. I had a lot of other moving pieces going on. And my mind was just kind of like a little bit everywhere. Family stuff still going on. But I think I hit like this roadblock where it's just like, oh, all this stuff is happening in my life. Let me start let me actually write something to it of my experiences and everything that I'm going through. And Lord willing, that can encourage somebody else. And that's what I did. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love that also. You've mentioned multiple times that you just want to love people like Jesus loves people.
yeah. For Jesus, I think for me, like the Lord was really like pruning and chiseling and throughout the whole process. A lot of family things were going on, and it's really just testing of the faith. But
Yeah.
I had to learn that just continue to keep my eyes fixed literally on Jesus and the Lord, and He's able to not cause me to drown. You know what I mean? But like, if as soon as I look away from Him, then it's gonna look very daunting.
So Lawrence, you work at Morgan State, which is an HBCU
Yeah.
in pretty much not downtown Baltimore, but definitely in the city of Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've written the saying, exchange student, walking in faith, college setting, and now you're working very closely with students at Morgan State. Tell everyone what you do.
So at Morgan State, I'm a resident director. So I deal with housing. So within that, Office of Residence, Life and Housing. So, basically within a dorm, I'm an RD. So I have RAs underneath me. And then those particular staff kind of put out fires throughout the halls. So, just a lot of catching people smoking weed, overnight guests they're not supposed to, a myriad of things, cooking with the George Foreman grill in their room when they're not supposed to, just trying to work
Burning popcorn.
Yeah, burning popcorn, all that stuff. But at the same time, it's really dope because it's a lot of mentoring within that, and organic conversations that can happen, which are very edifying for me anyway. Because for me, for college ministry, it was hard for me to raise support like a lot of my colleagues do. So for me to have this opportunity to work at a university and kind of do college ministry without, quote unquote title.
You're mentoring students, man.
I'm still doing what I love to do. So it's a blessing.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And if you, when you get a chance to sit down with your students, what advice do you have for college students right now?
And when I'm just talking to students, I just want them to kind of keep their head on straight. A lot of them feel like they are in this also by themselves, and they actually have a support system, they have resources, but they just choose not to use them, or they don't know about them. So just reaffirming students is huge. Identity is a really big piece that a lot of college students, go through. I'm sure that you know that already, but identity is a really big piece. So trying to reaffirm them, even as Black men and women, especially in these times, is major and crucial.
Mhm.
And just in organic conversations, just letting them know there's a difference between light and dark, and making up their minds to really choose light. And even as I write different rhymes and stuff like that, like literally scriptures illuminate off the pages, of my heart in a way. And I can see the difference between God and Satan, and I chose God. And I really want to help water the seed, water the seeds so they can grow and become great men and women of God. So
That's awesome. Yeah, working with college students, especially now that they're most of them are out of the home at that point, and they've stepped away, and this is their first time away. They're processing some things that they no longer have that safety blanket underneath them. And in some cases, they're processing the things that they thought were normal from their upbringing. And now they're like, wait, how am I affected by my upbringing? And family things get thrown in, things that they were taught by teachers that now they're starting to question, friends groups that they just thought the way they were treated in their friends groups was like appropriate. And now they're like, actually, I didn't have great friends, and processing through all that, but also like having all the new things that they never got to experience in high school laid at their feet in college. And what are they going to choose now that it's sitting right in front of them?
Yeah, that's major. Yeah. I mean, even for me, like I grew up in a Christian household, both my parents there, and, even telling me about the word of God and all that stuff. So I was just in cruise control, really. Just a regular churchgoer, knew what I was supposed to do. But when I got to college, it's just a brand new world, and those liberties that, I actually have accessibility to, I was like, oh, well, it's good. But I think the Lord has trained, like my parents had trained me up so well that even those liberties that I had the chance to do, I couldn't do. That's because it's like, just that conviction level. But some other people don't have that. Or even if they do, they don't have other people to keep them accountable. And I think that's the other thing. So making sure that the students I even come in contact with have other people that they can really have like real friends to kind of hold them up and just not them just make dumb decisions. So
thanks, Lawrence, man. I appreciate you taking the time out to do this and to share about the creative process. I'm not the most creative guy myself, but I work with students that are creative, and I'm so glad that God has wired people in that way. And also, I'm super glad of just even showing the picture of a guy that loves college students and work to make it happen so that you could be in a position to make a difference in a group that God's put on your heart. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing. I definitely don't take it for granted. So the Lord really does answer prayers, man, because that was a prayer for a very, very long time. So it's crazy. Cool. Super, super crazy. But how are you? How's everything with you? And you ready for the new fall semester?